Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending where you are in the world. Today, we are going to be covering 4 topics with you in this live event. So number 1 is eBay active content and how this impacts you and your business. Topic number 2, we'll be taking a look on how that impacts WidgetChimp and what's in WidgetChimp version 3. And the last topic of today, if I can spit my words out, we will be answering your questions to the best of our abilities. So that kind of sets the tone, and let's make this a little bit more personal. I am Matt. I am the founder of WidgetChimp.com, and I've also got Dave, who is my fellow co-founder of UnderstandingE.com with us as well. Dave, would you like to say hello?
Yes, sure, that's me. I'm here. I'm mainly here for moral support and making sure that any questions that you guys ask, I can get them noted down, make sure we don't miss anything. So, yeah, I'm here as well.
Absolutely. So, number 1, if you have any questions at all, there is a live chat which is running along with this webinar. Do note that obviously if you've got a question which is account specific, we're not going to be able to answer it for you. So if you do have an account specific question, please do me a massive favor and you a massive favor as well. If you can shoot an email to support@widgetchimp.com with your ticket number, and I will take a look later this afternoon. So if it is account specific, please just pop in. And again, if anybody, Dave, can you just pop a message in there if there's an issue with audio, just to hit refresh, and it should kick in. Okay, and obviously if you're watching the recorded version, we just noticed a couple of people have had issues with audio, which is not unknown for a live hangout on air. So what we're going to be doing is going back to topic number 1 is eBay's active content policy. So what we're going to do, we are going to go across to the eBay page, and we are going to work through the details of what eBay considers as active content, what the reasoning behind it is, and then look at what that means for us as business owners. Now, apologies if some of you have already been and seen this before. This is aimed at those which haven't, okay? So you're going to have to bear with us for a while on that one. And howdy, Nick, as well. Now, actually, before we go any further, I would like to say howdy to the Furniture Store, Lisa, Portside Marine, Naomi, who else we got? We got Dave is in here as the Manc entrepreneur, Nick Talley. And of course, if you'd like a shout out, just say howdy in the chat, which goes along. And Benny is also on as well. So with that said, let's get across to the other screen and also Tronics as well. Dave, can you pop the message about the refresh in there for him as well, please? And James and Ginger as well. Right, so let me go and get that screen up, and we're going to jump across to my desktop, and let me click on present to everybody. There we go. So you should be able to see the eBay page. To help you, I will pop a link in the chat. Hey, Simon. As well, Simon is actually one of our hosting providers. Fantastic team up there as well. Right, so we are going to be working through these topics. This is where the bulk of our attention is going to be spent, and then because this kind of like sets the framework for the rest of the conversation, which leads on afterwards. And again, the link to that is in the chat, and we'll also pop that in the video description for you as well once this webinar has been finished. So I'm going to read the first bit word for word so that we can understand actually what's going on. So overview. The use of active content in listings, including JavaScript, Flash, plugins, and form actions. Now, I will explain what these are in a moment. Can negatively impact the user experience by inhibiting mobile purchasing, increasing page load times, and increasing security vulnerabilities. Now, I am personally not going to argue with any of those 3 points. Inhibiting mobile purchasing. Now, we don't want to inhibit our customers, the people who buy from you, from buying from you, in short. Increasing page load times. Now, obviously, a laggy page, it's been a proven fact that pages which take longer have a direct impact on the amount of sales which are made. There's many studies out there on the interwebs about that. And also a serious one, which is increasing security vulnerabilities. Flash, for example, has a long history of having security vulnerabilities with it. Obviously, with JavaScript, you can do very naughty things with it as well. And so, like Tayson's bad, that's not something which we would do at all. But on a serious point, that would get press attention. Now, I did just notice there was a comment in chat from Get in the Mix. How long will this talk last, please? Realistically, I'm going to say an hour. That gives us plenty of leeway, and it does depend upon how many questions we get at the end as well. Now, let me just quickly go back and recap. JavaScript, which is one of the key fundamentals which allows us to do many cool things within your eBay listings currently. Flash, frankly, hate Flash, should have gone many years ago, but we won't go into that one. Plugins is a bit of a loose term, to say the least, and form actions. What does form actions mean? In plain English, what that means is that your search ability. So those of you which have got a search box within your eBay listing template, that will now no longer work. Okay, so as of June 2017, eBay will limit the use of active content in all listings across all devices, and it will not be rendered by default. So this is eBay putting a hard stop on what they class as active content, which is JavaScript, Flash, plugins, which is a bit ambiguous, and form actions. And then later on, they explain that it's going to apply to eBay stores as well. They go on to say you should prepare for these changes, and we encourage you not to limit or to limit or eliminate the use of active content in eBay listings and, of course, stores later on. And also, they do suggest not to make any more financial investments in creating or augmenting custom store experiences, because that capability will be retired at a later date. Now, the one line I will personally argue with, they've been absolutely fair up until that one, which is that we are closely working with our third-party partners in cases where they use active content in your item descriptions or stores. Well, I will be 100% honest with you, we've been kind of shunned by eBay, and we've just not heard a whisper out of them, which is disappointing, but we will carry on regardless. So let's carry on. Now, I'd like to make this point. Can you see that section there? And I know that has caused concern for many of you, and I'll switch back to the web camera to address this as well. So we are talking about the block here, which says in mid-2017, so that is June 2017, so this year, eBay will begin to turn off active content, and they'll give you two links. One of them is to preview your actual listing, and the other one is learn more, which takes us to that page. So let me just click stop on there. Now, number one, this is only an informational message. They haven't actually hardcore stopped active content, specifically JavaScript. So is that what we need to know about? Andrew, I genuinely do not know why. My main contact is eBay has not come back to us repetitively. So it is what it is. So coming back on to note that in mid-2017, it is not a warning message. It's not stopping the listing from being revised. It's just a informational message. So I just wanted to stress that one to you. That's all it is. It's not like, oh my God, my whole world's going to cave in, I can't list, etc., etc. It's just a straightforward information message. So let's get back to that document, and we will carry on where we left off. So let me go and click on there and present to everybody. Now, they do go on, and I actually really do like this document which eBay have been produced. Now, they go on to suggest alternatives to active content. Now, the key point here is that APIs are still available, so most third-party tools will continue to work with these changes on eBay. And also, crucially, the term, and I'll just quickly highlight this on here, CSS. Okay, so what CSS means is cascading style sheets, and I'm trying to keep this as low level as possible. Basically, it's a method to make your eBay listings look pretty above and beyond what you can do in just pure HTML. Now, they also do go on to mention about cross-promotion items, which it is a little bit weak. Okay, and the reason why I'm saying it's a little bit weak is because I don't know if you've seen this from like a buyer's perspective when you go into a listing. If you've got an eBay store and you're able to merchandise products, that is absolutely fantastic. You will see things like that at the top of your listings, which is great because it's your product and you can go backwards. Sorry, let's get right. So you can put your own products in there. You can make your own kits. You can do your own discounts and things like that, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, for those of you without stores, eBay is suggesting that they will launch a new merchandising widget, and there's a lot of promise which has been mentioned in here by eBay. That's just one of the pieces. Okay. And they go on to basically explain that your store search is no longer possible within the actual eBay listing itself, and instead that you should use the eBay listing header, which was absolutely fantastic when it was first launched. There wasn't any tools out there like WidgetChimp or anything out there really to be able to do that. But to be personally honest, and again, this is me putting myself in your position, the listing, like that listing bar at the top is just, there's just no real customization into it, and it's another 2 inches which a customer needs to scroll past. So personally, I'm not a fan of it. It was great when it was first launched many years ago. Since then, the rest of the world's been caught up, to be brutally honest. And then again, there's a note in here. In addition to searching for items in the store, the listing frame feature will also allow sellers to store category links, subscribe to newsletters, and their store logo. This feature is planned to be refreshed in early 2017. And again, this really has not been updated in many years, unfortunately. So good news, they will be updating that one at some point in early 2017. Okay, now this is where I'd like to say a massive, and I genuinely mean this, a massive hat tip to eBay. Okay, because on one hand, and this kind of like summarizes what they cover in this update, is on one hand they say that basically, I'm summarizing this quite heavily, is that really you shouldn't be using tabs in your listings. However, if you really do want to use tabs in your listings, then heck, we'll give you some code to do it. So like I said, real big hat tip to eBay for actually going the extra mile. It's not complete code, but it's enough to get you going. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. And they've even included a little screenshot in there as well. And they've done a really good job to try and tone it down for Joe Public, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's happy days. Now they also, and again, a massive hat tip to eBay from this point of view, and it's a key point for you too, is the eBay image gallery. Okay, besides the listing title and item specifics, besides the actual title, it is like the second most important factor for you on eBay, is because the second, in fact, I'll tell you what, let me just scroll down. I'm sure you've all seen it before. Let me just scroll back up. Basically it's the image gallery at the top of your listing. So let's get that back off the screen. So the image gallery is the second most important tool in your arsenal as an eBay seller. The reason why it's the second most important tool and not the first important tool is because most items are found on eBay by text searches. So somebody is searching for, I don't know, an 18650 battery, for example. So they're going to type in 18650 battery, and then the second they've been and typed that, they are in like visual mode and they are looking down the pictures. Okay, eBay allows you to insert 10, 12 images into your listing, and that's a absolute key point. You should definitely be doing your best to use all of those 12 images within your listing. Now let's get back to that document and click present to everybody. Brilliant. So they then go on to explain that you really shouldn't put images in your actual item description and not actually use the gallery, which is, I'm sure, something which you would never do. You would always make sure that you get as many images into the gallery. And then, of course, if you've got additional images or you want your own photo gallery, like the one on the right-hand side, you can, of course, put that in your listing. But eBay suggests that you don't. But then they go on and give you the code. Is, like I said, big hat tip to eBay for at least getting some code in there, and also to help you try and get it mobile responsive. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Now, we are now at one of the biggest negatives, okay, as far as the active content policy goes on eBay. And there's no nice way of phrasing this one, which is, and in fact, let's get this off the screen and let's go back to the web camera. I want to fill you in with like a little project which I'm working on here in the background. Is that I always knew for a very long period of time that video is absolutely massive. Specifically, YouTube is just absolutely crazy. It's a medium which I personally wanted to get involved in at some point in my future. And I can now sit in front of you and tell you that I'm now over 6 months into a year-long project to make a point to you as small to medium-sized business owners that YouTube is a fantastic selling platform. There's an interview, actually, Dave, can you do me a favor? There's an interview which me and you did about a week or two ago. Can you find a link to that and pop it in the chat for me, please?
I will. Yep.
Basically, there's a chat with me and Dave. It's about an hour-long interview. And I'll give you the brief synopsis, is that I'm 6 months in and I've sold over $60,000 worth of kit on YouTube. Okay, YouTube is an extremely powerful medium. Okay, and the reason why I'm bringing that up and giving you like this background to one of the other projects which I'm working on here at the moment is because I want to stress how important this is, and this is why I'm a little bit concerned on this one, because it's not particularly clear what's going to happen. So let's get back to the eBay page and we will carry on from there. So there is some bad news as far as this goes, which is eBay do mention that there is a HTML5 tag in there, which is video, okay, which is absolutely brilliant. It does work. The issue is that all the major video providers, aka YouTube and Vimeo being the most prolific of the pair of them, neither of them will work with the video tag. And the reason why it won't work with the video tag is because you need it in a specific format. YouTube doesn't provide that format, and Vimeo doesn't provide that format as well. Okay, so right now, as far as this update goes, there is no workable, and I genuinely mean that, workable method of including video in your eBay listings. And that there's, I know, like from a personal point of view, we've got loads and loads of code to get written, and of course you've probably got one or two concerns as well. But again, Andrew, Matt, I appreciate your honesty with this whole matter. Absolutely, I always base what I do from like your point of view. It's the only way to go. Okay, focus on your customer and then work upwards. Okay, that is right now the biggest negative, and they've included a photograph of a video and used a YouTube play button on it, but you can't include a YouTube video in your eBay listings. Now, there is some irony for you, is that to make the video tag actually work with a YouTube video, you would need about 14 lines of JavaScript, but you can't use JavaScript in your listing anymore. So that is like from your point of view, the biggest negative as far as it goes, as far as this content policy update. Obviously, we've got things like revising listings, and that gets into a whole topic of third-party tools and things like that. Okay, so that for me is the biggest negative about this update and what's going to be affecting you and us over the next 2 months or so and into the future. Okay, and I know just going back to the top where we had JavaScript, Flash, and things like that, that impacts me personally as the founder of WidgetChimp. But from your point of view, video, that is a massive question mark, and I really personally want to see some movement over that in the future. And I mean, like, now we need to know what's going on with that. You need to know what's going on that, and there's just very little information. That's the kind of all the information which we've got. Now, there was actually, we did host a webinar on this yesterday, and in fact, I'll just keep this as personal as possible to get the web camera back on. There was a suggestion which came up in a webinar which we did yesterday with the members over on understandinge.com. I think it was Jake and Richard mentioned that, oh, Matt, could we not just include the link to our own video, like the MP4 file or similar? And the answer is categorically yes. You could include your own link to your own video from your own web hosting. But you really don't want to do that. And I genuinely mean that. That's not something you would want to do, even if you had your own content delivery network. The reason being is that video eats so much bandwidth, it's unreal. And I can tell you that from somebody who does several terabytes worth of data transfer per month from the WidgetChimp point of view. We do literally terabytes of data every single month, and it does start getting expensive. Okay, that's not something which you really want to get into. Okay, so those of you thinking, oh, I'll just put a link in there to one of the videos which we made, one of the raw edited videos. You can do that, but I would personally suggest you don't, because you're just going to hit your bandwidth limits very, very quickly. And even if you are using a content delivery network, you're just going to chew into your bandwidth allowances. You're going to end up with extra bills and on top. So that isn't a viable route, I'm afraid. That's just me being realistic. So the one piece which I'm really looking forward to is what eBay do with that video tag. And it could so easily be cleaned up, and we could so easily make YouTube work with it with literally just a couple of lines of JavaScript. And that is for me, from like your point of view, that is like the biggest negative which we have right now as far as the updates. So with that said, let's get back to those updates and make sure I choose the right tab and go back. Right, so videos, fair enough. They do go on to mention about freight shipping rates, which you can do on the second tab. They do, but basically those of you which were being really naughty and including maybe Google Analytics or another stats counting tool within your listing, again, that's something which we never touched in WidgetChimp, is that one obviously no longer work because that uses a JavaScript to do that. And of course, we do have the new Seller Hub, which has come out, and of course that will get updated over in the future, I'm sure. They go on to about parts compatibilities, which we'll ignore right now. Again, another massive hat tip to eBay on this topic. They have been included very basic HTML, which you can use, and some CSS as well to style a very basic listing template. So like I said, big hat tip in there. They have been included not only some basic code for you to potentially use, and also some links off to external sites like W3 Schools, fantastic website. I can't tell you how many times I've used that site specifically over the last 12 months. It must be in the realms of thousands of times. They do go on to mention that for as far as listing counters, you should really use the page views, which you see at the top of your listings. That's not, I'm just going to skirt over that topic. One of the most interesting topics, actually, which I'll show you a little story. Well, I'll tell you what, let's find out what they've said, and then I'll share a story with you, and I'll let you make your own decision on this one. And again, I'll read this out for word. The item description of the listing is designed to provide the buyer information about the item which is listed and information which will help the buyer complete the transaction. Now, information which will help the buyer complete the transaction. Keep that little sentence in the back of your mind. And yes, Michael, W3 Schools, absolutely amazing resource. eBay recommends, now that says that doesn't say eBay says this is now banned. It says eBay recommends sellers not to include information not directly related to the item in the description, unrelated. The following are some examples of unrelated information. If you're using active content to display this information, you should discontinue its use. And of course, we've got the feedback gallery, which many of you, I'm sure, have used before and would obviously like to see used in the future. Now, with that said, I do need to stop for a quick pause to take a quick sip of coffee a moment. And I would like to show you that little story with my wife. My wife was, my wife also works within the team as well, in the support team. And I'm sure if any of you have actually emailed us directly, that would actually been Helen you've spoken to in the emails. Now, we actually sat down a day or two ago, and I went through all these changes with her, and she was like, "What? That's crazy. That's and because in the document they go on to suggest that you can click on the seller's feedback as well, and then go and view the feedback." And the thing was, I was chatting to Helen. Well, that's nuts. When I see someone who's using WidgetChimp, I can normally see their feedback within the listing, and it saves me going off to go and click on that thing and to go and check on that feedback, because I do that for every other seller. And when they're using WidgetChimp, I don't need to do that. And she went on to say, "I can't believe they're getting rid of it." And it was like, "That's nuts." And I said, "Yeah, I know." I know where you're coming from, you know? So the key point here is that they've said they recommend not to include it, but they've said that you cannot include it, which is the differentiator which I'm looking for here. So we will be seeing a new version of that at some point in the future. Okay, so let's get back to the document, and we're almost at the end of it now. And let me click on there and present to everybody. So let's scroll on down. Okay, they then go on to mention the things that we shouldn't be included, where it's more of a case that you cannot include it with JavaScript gone. Currency conversion widgets, which, to be brutally honest, eBay does a quite good currency conversion at the top anyway. I know that when I'm personally shopping on ebay.com, or if I end up in eBay Australia, I get a rough idea on the currency conversion. So that's no biggie. Social sharing icons, yeah, there was a big fat red warning on those in WidgetChimp that you weren't supposed to put them in there. Yeah, we're not allowed social sharing icons, I'm afraid. So we will be more stringent on the new version of WidgetChimp when it comes to those. Obviously, if you do decide to write that in there, then that's your decision. But anyway, moving on, iframes. Well, we won't be able to use iframes. We were never really allowed to use iframes at any point in time. Now, there is a couple of these like FAQs, which we're going to quickly cover. Okay, so number one, will eBay support externally hosted CSS? Now, crucially here, links to external CSS will be allowed. Now, we'll get to why that's important for you in a few moments, and also why it's important for WidgetChimp. Now, however, if the external CSS contains any script tags, which it can't, or active content that would be blocked for page performance reasons, we do not recommend externally hosted CSS. Now, one point here is that CSS is allowed. That's fantastic. That does mean that we will be able to dynamically update your listings remotely. Won't be at the, and again, I've got some bad news for you. I will cover the bad news for you in a few minutes, but I'm staying with where we started from, is that we will be allowed, we will be able to change things remotely, just not to the same level as what we had before. Now, when it comes to for page performance reasons, I did indicate earlier that we do get through several terabytes of data here at WidgetChimp. It's only just gone up and up and up since the day we first started. We do a crazy amount of traffic. Now, the reason why we are able to use and do a crazy amount of traffic is because we use something called a content delivery network. The very short version of what a CDN or content delivery network is that it means that we can distribute the CSS, in this case, to servers all across the world, which basically means that it loads as fast as possible for you and your customers, in short. And that's something which we will continue to use forever, in short, because it's a fantastic way of making things run fast, no matter where your customers are in the world. Now, there's one other question which I'm going to quickly cover here, which is what kind of active content will be blocked? Specifically, JavaScript, Flash, plugins, which is extremely vague, and form actions. So working that backwards, form actions, that means that you won't be able to have a search your store button in your eBay listings. That's the main button which everybody uses up until now. Plugins is a very vague one. I don't actually know what you're referring to there, so that's pretty vague. Flash, well, you heard my views on that earlier. Thank goodness that's going. And JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is the big one. So let's get back to the web camera. Now, why is JavaScript the big one? Going back to the 3 points earlier, JavaScript, there's no two ways about this. JavaScript can be abused, okay? JavaScript is a very powerful programming language. It is evolved exponentially over the last, well, even the last 2 years and many years before that as well. It's a fantastic versatile programming language, but it can be abused to do naughty things. Obviously nothing which we would do as reputable business owners, but they have decided that no more JavaScript. Now, for WidgetChimp, in its current iteration, when the active content policy does kick in, that means that any listings which you have with JavaScript in them, not only just WidgetChimp stuff, any other tool which you've been using will cease to work. Now, that goes back to the 3 reasons at the beginning, which I'll quickly recap at the top. And again, I'm not disagreeing with the reasons or the motivation behind it. I think this is definitely, and I wholeheartedly feel this is definitely a positive step in the right direction, okay, because of those 3 factors. Inhibiting mobile purchasing. There have been tools out there which have not reacted very well to mobile devices, and Dave looked this up when we were doing a chat on this yesterday. Over 55% of transactions now are touched by mobile devices, and that data is it was a year old, wasn't it, Dave?
Yeah, Q1 2016. So by now, I would say it has been much closer to 60%, if not past it.
So mobile is massive. Obviously, it's going to top out at some point, but at the moment, it's still a big growth area for eBay and ultimately for your customers, whether they are wherever I've done was over there on charge, whether they're checking on their phone or checking on their pad and then coming back to the desktop when they get to work to make a purchase. Mobile is big, and it just cannot be ignored. And the other 2 reasons, increase in page load times. Yeah, absolutely. Including JavaScript in your listing, even if it's on a content delivery network, it's like the fastest I can make it for you, is that it's still going to add some overhead. So it will take some time for that to load. And the last one, which is actually the big one, which we should all care about, which is increasing security vulnerabilities. So bad press on that kind of scale is not good. Okay, so I'm not going to argue with either of those 3 points. So what does that mean for WidgetChimp in short? That basically means the current version of WidgetChimp, or the super cool, let me word that correctly, most of the super cool things which you can do are going to be restricted. Now, I'd like to give you the bad news as straight as I can possibly go. Right, where's the depreciated widgets? Now, we have a couple of widgets which will go. 2 of them may come back in the future. Nobody knows right now. So the first one, the eBay search box widget, is going to go. Can't use it. It's got a form element in there, one of those things which are going to be blocked. I can't do anything about that one. That widget is gone. Social accounts, that one's also going to go. And remember, that was a bit naughty, so we're not allowed to do that. That's going to be gone as well. The video player and the per product video player is also going to go. That may come back at a later date once we know how eBay are going to get around this video tag, which you can use with Vimeo or YouTube. That may come back at some point, but for all intents and purposes, in the new version, which is going to be known as version 3 of WidgetChimp, that will not be available. And the other one widget, which is being depreciated as well, is called custom code, that one where you could load in your own external code. So that one is also going to be depreciated as well. So that is the bad news. let's start talking about some of the good news. Now, the good news is that what we're doing here right now is taking a structured approach to it. Now, well, there is actually one more bit of bad news, I'm afraid, which is that to be able to dynamically rearrange the entirety of your template. So, you know, the layout editor, which I'm sure many of you have used, and you've got in there and change something and then press save, then it press another button, it updates your listing, is the amount of flexibility which we now have because we don't have JavaScript at our disposal, does mean that we are going to end up with a limited set of tools available to you. So I am going to be referring this as version 3 and version 4 on purpose. Okay, so let's talk about version 3. Version 3 is going to be, its primary purpose is to make it as rock solid, stable as possible with a finite number of features and functionality included in that. So what do I mean by that? In the version 3 of the template editor, we will have a logo widget, a header message, breadcrumbs, image gallery, listing title, obviously item description in there as well, multiple tabs, related products. By the way, related products is staying. Help links, store categories as well. So if you want your eBay shop categories, they will be part of, they will be a widget which is available for you. And of course, they will also be dynamic as well. And those are the key widgets which will soon be available in version 3 of WidgetChimp. There is also going to be a restriction imposed in the beginning, which is that we will, let me explain why this restriction will exist. I spent a day or so interrogating all the listing templates which have been created in WidgetChimp. Now, a grossly disproportional amount of all the templates which have been created in WidgetChimp are in a 2-column format. So using my screen, and apologies if this is reversed for you, or in fact, let me turn around. Most listing templates are, and I mean this, a disproportionate number of them have a 1/4 column on the left, and then a 3/4 column wide on the right-hand side. Now, some of them all have different variations with different sections at the top and different sections at the bottom. So looking at the hard numbers, the first version, so version 3 of the new tool, will be fixed to a 2-column layout. So we'll obviously you'll have a header section and a footer section to put stuff at the bottom, but the main content will be on a left-hand bar and a main section on the right-hand side. Now, don't panic. I'm thinking back to questions which we had yesterday. We had questions such as that if I'm using, Matt, I'm using a 3-column layout, does that mean I need to change to a 2-column layout? The answer is yes. The other question which we had is that, Matt, will you be adding other layouts later? And the answer to that is, of course, yes. And that will be in version 4. But that will not happen until version 3 with those core widgets, the core functionality has been bedded in, and any undocumented features, aka bugs, have been fixed, and it's super stable, and it's at a stage where I feel super happy that version 3, yes, that is working. Okay, once I'm personally happy that version 3 is working, the basic functionality, we will then progress into version 4. Now, we also had some questions yesterday. Approximately how long will it take you to go from version 3 to version 4 and add some of the other cool stuff back in? The genuine answer to you right now is I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is because that core of version 3 of WidgetChimp needs to be rock solid. We need that fantastic foundation for us to work on. Remember, with WidgetChimp, that has been around for several years now. The framework basically works. What's wrong with it is known, and all major bugs and things like that are all fixed now. It's being used literally on millions of listings. So that's where we are right now. So let me just quickly answer a couple of your questions immediately. So I've seen there's 2 questions in there from Uzi and Portside Marine. And by the way, if you do have any question, please just ask in the chat which goes along with this. And of course, if you are watching the recorded version, you can either ask underneath this video, or you can ask in the ticket system, or shoot an email across to support@widgetchimp.com. So the first question is from Uzi, and he says, description images will stay. Yes, in short. Currently, we have our product images above the description of the product. Absolutely. That is actually going to be, we will have a template which is preloaded, and the new editor will look very, very similar to what you've been using up to date. Okay. And yes, that will be the suggested format which we preload into the listing template builder for you. Okay. So I'll take like a best practice or best practices example, and I will load all the defaults in there for you to get so the idea is that you can get going from clicking create template to adding it to your listings as fast as possible. And of course, you'll be able to change the colors and the styles and backgrounds and things like that as you see fit. So yes, is the short answer. Will description images will stay? Categorically, yes. Okay. Portside Marine says, so when WC3 is released, we will redesign the new templates to work without active content. Yes, you must do that without active content. You are not allowed JavaScript, Flash, plugins, whatever that means. And I've forgotten the other one, which was, scroll down. It'll come back to me in a minute. Sorry, I can't see it on the screen, but there was something else that they were chucking as well. Let's have a quick look. Lots of questions coming in now. So Unique Graving and Gift says, will links to other sites like Jotform be affected? Potentially, yes. Now, from my research on this, and by the way, don't think this is like a big surprise to me. I know this has been going on for quite some time. I didn't expect eBay to start sticking this information notice on the top of the listing, so I know some of you have been concerned. This is why we're holding this live webinar with you, okay? There are question marks around external sites, so obviously it does need to, you do need to adhere to eBay's links policy. There is also talk from what I've read is that including question marks in links can in the sandbox cause issues as well. So there is a little bit of an unknown as far as links to other sites. Okay, that is as much as I know. So I hope I've been able to help you. Benny says, will the image slider stay? So the widgets which will be in version 4. So they will be action buttons, navigation bar, vertical tabs, image slider, which is the one which Benny was just asking about. Related products, like there's something which I want to do with related products, and I'm not going to mention what it is because I would like to retain some form of competitive advantage from having this chat. So there is something going on with related products. There will be an advanced system for that later on. Daily deal, these are like version 4 things. Customer reviews, they will be back as well. Custom message, item specifics will be a widget which is available in specific instances. Again, I'm not going to go into details for that one. I would like to retain some form of competitive advantage on how we will be doing that. Custom alerts, icon boxes, seller report card, and feedback slider. Okay, those are widgets which I've deemed as not core essentials for version 3. Thus, they will get, they're noted, they've all been specified, but they're on the side. I'm not going to pay any attention to them until version 3 is rock solid. So I hope that helps. So Debbie, quick one. So that means no, they will be in there. They will, image sliders will be in there. Let's have a quick look. I'm just trying to get on top of the questions in here. So Benny, will the image slider stay? Yes. Well, no, let me word this correctly. No, not in version 3, but we will see it in version 4. Ara says, I may have missed out, but I would like to know if there's a conversion tool for the old ones to the new ones, and then will each one need to be recreated and applied again? Right. There's another part of this change which I'm working on as well, because you are going to fall basically into one of two camps. You are going to either be using third-party listing management tools or you're not. So in other words, you're using the sell your item form or one of eBay tools to update your listings. Those of you with eBay management tools, for example, M2E Pro, and the list goes on, is that you are in a very good position because you'll be able to design your template, grab the code, stick it into your profile or into your template within your third-party tool, and then go on and revise all your eBay listings. So those of you which are using third-party software, things are good for you. Okay, now on the other side of the table, maybe you're a seller and you sell on eBay and you don't have any third-party software. Now, I'd like to just make this point. This is another part of the tool which I'm working on for you specifically, is that again, I don't want to go into too much details for it. I'll give you a very brief overview, which is, let's say that you create a new template using the new template editor. We'll have a filtering option available to you, and you will then be able to go on and convert your previous WidgetChimp template to a new template. Okay, that for me is the holy grail. Those of you which have got listing management software, you guys have got it easy. For you, it'll be copy and paste a couple of times, I assume, and then the third-party tool will do the legwork for you to update your listings. Those of you which don't worry, I've not forgotten about you. There are some big challenges if you consider that there are potentially millions of listings to get revised. Is that side of this new version 3 is one of those things which I need to make sure is rock solid for you. Okay, so I hope that helps, Ara. Alexander says, are any of the going to add some manuals for JS to HTML migration? Yeah, basically JavaScript is out of the window. We're not allowed to use it anymore. Some would like the dynamic replacement of putting things in different places isn't going to be available to us. There are some workarounds which we're working on right now so that you will be able to change the ordering of some things in specific columns. Of course, design, the way it looks, can all be done remotely. So if you want to go from, I'll tell you what, we got Valentine's Day coming up shortly. So maybe you just had Christmas and you had a green template going on, or maybe a red template, and then we've come into January, so we've gone to a red cell template. So we changed the background to red, changed one of the images over, for example. That's all perfectly doable. And then we got Valentine's Day coming up. You will be able to change your background to some love hearts and change a couple of the images and things like that. That will all still be possible remotely. Okay, remember, just like version 2, what you've been using up until now, is that the description and the images WidgetChimp doesn't touch. The core of the actual eBay listing, the actual content itself, the information which is provided is still in the listing. Okay, your description is your description. You still need to provide that. The listing title and the images, you still need to provide that. But all the other stuff on the outside, the way in which it looks and the way in which it feels, is that we will do our absolute best for you to make sure that you can control as much of that as sensibly as possible. So Uzi, yeah, color, theme, style will stay, absolutely. Debbie says, will the feedback widget stay? So I've put the feedback widget into version 4. It will come back in a new version. Okay, also thinking about yesterday, one of the comments which we had, I think it was Howard. Howard asked, Matt, I'm actually using the feedback widget on our Magento website. Will that still work? The answer to that is yes, it still will work. And then the entrepreneur in me was like, oh, right, okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do with the feedback, like the standalone feedback widget. What we're going to do on that one is that we're going to give it a new name and we're going to remarket it for website owners. Okay, so sometime in the future you'll find a plugin for like WordPress and Magento and whatever other site, and so that you can get your feedback and your listing in your actual website itself. But the new version, there will be a CSS only version available, but that will be in version 4. So it will disappear for a period of time and then we'll come back to meet eBay's new rules. So fantastic question, Debbie, and I hope if that's helped, please let me know in the chat. Scrolling down. Let's have a quick look. Katie says 2 things. I spoke to eBay today and they said that the live Zoom won't work anymore. Is this correct? No, I can categorically tell you is that we will have a Zoom feature within, if you've got an image gallery, obviously it needs to adhere to the version 3 format, is that the Zoom feature will work. It just won't be as good or as, I'll say as good as what we had available to us previously, but there will be a zoom feature, not like you hold your finger on it and you can zoom in. It will be more of a click effect, and then we'll get the full size image available to us. So there will be a kind of zoom version available to you. D-Furniture Store says, when we update to the template in version 3, will our listings update automatically, or will you need to revise manually? You will need, so if you don't have third-party software which can do this for you, you will need to revise your listings. I am working on a tool which will allow you to do that. I'm trying to get to a one-button wonder, which is that you can make your selection and press the button and we'll do the work in the background for you. That's something which I'd like to get to. It still needs work, and I'm just being as open and as honest as I can with you, is that right now we've got 2 months to get this right. I have an extremely aggressive goal, not say I'm aggressive, ambitious goal that we will get a alpha working version by Monday of next week, okay, where we have all these different components, these pieces of a puzzle right now, and individually they work, but when we mash them together to make a big picture, we find that that piece doesn't work with that piece, and because that piece doesn't fit with that piece doesn't fit over it. And that's the primary challenge which I've got at the moment, is making all these pieces work together. So carrying on, I want to answer your questions on there. I have a link to jot forms within my listing to collect product. No, that won't work anymore. So sorry, APR pack, yeah, that won't work because it's submitting a form that's no longer available. And I sincerely hope that, actually, that's one thing which I missed and eBay have missed as well, the personalization factor. So for you specifically, I would put a big emphasis on if it is a customized product that the customer needs to use the message to seller in the checkout, and yeah, we all know that's the one which all the buyers miss. So I feel for you in that instance, I really do. It's just been such an ongoing issue for many years. And remember, I used to be an eBay seller myself, and I know exactly where that's coming from. Gaming Parts for You will need to design a new template app. Or will it import our current template so we need to tweak it? No, it won't be that advanced. We will load you up a suggested template. You can tweak it then to your heart's content, but it will be working on a 2-column format for version 3. We will, like I said, we will add other layouts in at a later date for you. Benny also says, so for the time being, when the change is made, version 3 available, many of the gadgets you've just said will have to, they just basically have to wait to version 4 to become available. So let me just stress, in version 3, you will have the key essentials, okay? Let me get this right. Let me scroll back up. In fact, when I scroll up and use it from the summary, we will have your logo widget, header message, breadcrumbs, image gallery, listing title, item description, multiple tabs, related products, help links, and a dynamic categories widget available to you as well. The core essentials will be in version 3. Remember, this is my focus, is to get version 3 rock solid. We can add in, and version 4 won't it won't be a case that, hey, look, we're having a webinar and version 4 is released. No, it will most likely turn into a case of, we will start chipping away at the other widgets, and we will get to version 4 cumulatively over a period of time. And I genuinely do not know how long that will be. Again, like I said, I'm being open and as honest as I can for you. The only widgets which are going is that I need to click on that link there, is the eBay search box. Remember, that had a form element, social accounts, video, because there's this big question mark over what's going on with that, and the custom code widget is going, okay? So Katie says, so do you mean if you are creating a new listing in eBay, you can paste the WidgetChimp code into the HTML? Yes, absolutely. Alexander says, is version 4 will appear before June 2017? No, version 3 will appear before the deadline. Okay, that's my goal. I have a very ambitious goal to get version 3 in and rock solid for you for the changeover. Things may go swimmingly well, okay, and we may start chucking in some version 4 parts, or things may not go to plan, and we may, well, they won't. We will make it work, okay, so that at the time that we're not allowed JavaScript anymore, version 3 will be available and it will work. Okay, that is the deadline. It must work. I'm trying to make things happen much sooner so that we can come back and we can have a chat and I'll go, hey, version 3's here. This is what we've got. These are the things which you're going to be able to do, and we'll focus on the positive sides. Like I said, those of you with third-party listing management tools, it's going to be happy days for you. You'll be able to copy the code, paste it in, and off you toodles. Those of you which don't have third-party software, one of my big focuses literally at this present moment in time, and I can't say that anymore immediately because I've been working my fingers off on it today, is the bulk revise tool. And that really does need to be rock solid. So I've got challenges with that right now. But my goal is for next week, we will have a working version 3 available internally for us to use. And then it will go through a couple of users first to get their feedback and their suggestions. And then we'll start opening that up to everybody to use as well. Plus out, we can embed video, but can we have links to video so they open in another tab? Yes, absolutely. Okay, it's not a case that videos are banned. The ability to show videos in the current iteration, excuse me, of their documentation basically is flawed. We can't do it. Okay, well, no. It is flawed. You can't include YouTube and you can't include Vimeo, the two big video hosting providers out there on the interwebs. You can't include their video. That's the unknown. In the future, let's hope that it comes, but you can categorically include a link to an external video. Obviously, if that abides to eBay's links policy, so you'll need to go and check that. In other words, in short, don't link to a video which is you going in there, oh look, you can buy this product on our website for 5% cheaper, go here, because that would be obviously classed as taking the piss. Unique graving and GIFs. Can we see a preview of the new WidgetChimp once ready? Absolutely. Okay, once I've got something worth showing you, we'll have another live session like this and we'll go through that. Donna says, how about main store template designs? Are you working on that as well? Basically, what I had working previously is now just being made defunct because they've clearly said that you're not going to be able to use JavaScript on your stores in the future. We can do some really cool stuff with CSS. It just won't be at the level as what we had previously, unfortunately. So we will revisit that at some point in the future. And I'm afraid I can't give you more of like a definitive answer because there's just too much on the plate right now.
I'm sure I heard rumors of that as well, of eBay actually getting rid of stores. I don't know where I heard that from, but I mean, that was something which I definitely heard a few months ago. So again, another month to consider.
I haven't heard that one, Dave. I know I've got a very good idea on how much how much revenue eBay generate from having stores, and it's a lot of money. So I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Thanks for that, by the way. Thank you. And by the way, Dave, if I've missed out anybody's questions, do let me know as well.
Mate, I've got the Google Doc. You're doing well. You're going through them all. There's a couple that you've missed, but I'm guessing that's for purposeful reasons coming to the end where you'll probably answer.
Oh, right. No, I haven't missed. I've missed one or two duplicates in there, but if you feel, I tell you what, any of the ones which you feel that I missed, bring them up in a minute and we'll get there.
We'll do. You're good, mate.
Okay. So there was a preview, store designs. Will the process... Okay, so Michael Shaw says, will the process to migrate to version 3 be via the use of CSV files in the background? In that bulk processing will be possible. Michael, we will do, so the process to migrate? So let's use, you could be on two sides of the camp, so I'll answer it two different ways. If you're using a third-party software tool, which can revise eBay listings, then you'll be able to take your template, paste it in there, and then they will update your eBay listings for you. There's a couple of different ways which they can do that. Typically, it'll be via the eBay trading API. They'll make calls out and revise your listings for you. If you don't have any third-party software, okay, again, we have several different tools available to us. The main one is the eBay Trading API, which will spin out a load of API requests to go and take this listing template here, the old version, and then update it. And we'll take that template and then we'll change it to the new one. Okay, so no, it probably won't be done via CSV. Katie says, also appreciating your honesty. Yeah, I'm looking at this from your point of view, and I'd rather be open and honest with you. Again, I'd like to make a point. I have been working on a YouTube project for the last 6 months or so, and you can never not be anything other than you, okay? And I have been brutally honest about some of the things which have been going on with YouTube. It's the way which I'm wired. No apologies for that. Uzi says, final question, when will version 3 roll out? Is there any mock-ups available? Any idea how it will look? No, is the honest answer. My genuine answer is no. My personal goal is to have a working version with all the components working together as best I can for next week. When you get to actually see that, it will be shortly after. It really does depend on how these components fit together in there. There's still, I will be 100% honest with you, there is still a lot of code to be written. Now, I'd also like just to quickly go onto a side tangent here, okay, is that I can see this from your point of view, that you may feel that I have, and WidgetChimp has been late to the party for the changes. I would actually like to make this point out that it's you can gain a competitive advantage by being late to the party. I'm sure you've gone there, the party's already been warmed up, everybody's got the beers going, etc., and you can then just ease into the party. This has been a specific decision by myself. I wanted to see what others do in the space, and now I'm going, well, I like that, but you did that? Not going to happen. So I'm just being as open as I can possibly with you. So David, the answer is exactly the same for you as well. So a quick D Furniture Store says, do you know if the listings will be affected before the store shop front, or will both be affected at the same time? No, from eBay's wording in the active content policy update, stores will be affected later. They don't put any time frames on that. They've just said later it's coming, so that you shouldn't spend any time or money, crucially, in customized storefronts which rely upon JavaScript. Okay. James says, would also like an eBay store homepage designer too, so that it could be matching a listing template. I would love to get that right now. Too much on the table. James, that's the honest answer. Katie, not yet is my honest answer to that one as well. Richard says, hi, basically what we will have to do our end is keep our listings looking professional and not just a load of text. Yeah, this is one of the big things, is that I don't want you to be able to lose your ability to brand your listing. One of the key factors for you as a business owner is that your listing looks like you, or what you want your listing to look like. It is in simple forms. You will categorically have that ability.
I think Richard's question there, mate, was what will he have to do at his end? Once everything, version 3 is ready, what is actually involved for him in order to make these changes? Okay,
so to make custom... Sorry, Dave, can you just rewind that one again for me?
Yeah, so I think Richard's question is, what will we have to do at our end in order to keep the listings looking professional and not just have a load of text? So I'm guessing when eBay make the changes in June, I'm guessing Richard just needs to update his template in version 3, put the code into whatever program he's using, or revise the listings manually if he's not using third-party software. And that will ensure that when the active content policy comes in, he's not just left with HTML everywhere. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Right, sorry.
Hope that answered your question.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. So again, I'll take the two sides. If you have third-party software which has got the ability for you to put templates in and use keywords and things like that, you would go create a version 3 template and get your code. So you'll download the file, where you'll choose your third-party tool, and then we'll create this file with all the keywords in there for you. And then you can paste that into your third-party tool, and then that tool will then go off and revise your listings. If you don't have a third-party listing management tool, okay, so in other words, you've been using the eBay sell your item form, for example, is that I am working on a tool which will allow you to say, this listing was using this template before. I would like to revise it to the new version 3 template, and you tick whichever ones you want to do it on, and then click apply, and then WidgetChimp in the background will do it for you. Okay. I know that for many of you may have hundreds, if not thousands, of listings. Again, I'll put some video tutorials around this for you. I'll show you how to go and revise one, and then I'll show you how to revise many in bulk. I would also personally, and I genuinely mean this, and I can tell you as a software developer, okay, is that no software is perfect. There's a lot of different circumstances which we're working with, is that what I would do is that I would definitely go and revise one and upgrade it to a new version 3 template. Go and actually view the listing, make sure it looks like what you expect it to look like. And then that's especially important if you're going to be updating tens or hundreds or potentially thousands of listings, is that go and pick a couple at random once they've been revised and make sure they look like what you expect them to look like. Okay, and again, the reason why I'm saying that is because that's what I would do if I was in your position, and also just because the amount of different variables which we are working with. If your listing before was using a WidgetChimp template, so version 2, I know the format of that listing template. I know where everything should be in that template. Obviously, there are circumstances where that breaks. We've had that through support many, many times where we've got dodgy character which has been added and things like that, where someone's gone on and edited their template even further. I'm sure we will run into circumstances like that with the changeover as well. But assuming that that's going to be like the very much the minority, the norm will be, we know the format of your current listing template, the transposing of that from version 2 to version 3 in WidgetChimp. So it'll be a case of tick the listings you want to change, or I'll even tell you, the tool will even tell you what template is being used, and you'll be able to convert from a version 2 to version 3. Okay, so I hope that helps. Dave, have I missed any other questions as well?
Let me just have a look. There's a couple of questions which have just snuck in towards the end there. One about custom code. Is that coming to V3?
Alexander, you will be able to...
allowed, is it?
Okay, let me just clarify that. You will be allowed to add custom CSS to your templates. One of the widgets which it was so virgin between version 3 and version 4 is that we will have the ability, like the notifications widget which we had before, we'll be able to put a special message at the top and at the bottom of your listing templates. Okay, that one, it might actually just sneak into version 3, although I've kind of put it somewhere else, I'll put it into version 4, that may sneak into version 3. Custom code, remember, you're not allowed to include JavaScript, Flash, plugins, and whatever the third, I can't remember, I still can't remember the last one. So you could technically include JavaScript in your listing template, and you would have to add that in manually. eBay won't render it, okay? If it's CSS code, yes. If you want to add your own HTML to your listing template, you will be able to do that as well. Okay, so I hope that helps.
Next one was about the delivery ETA widget. Will it still function, or will it cease to exist?
It will cease to exist. We can't pull in the information to be able to that scrolling timer. We don't know what time it is.
That was like one of my favorite widgets for that as well.
I know. I had so much fun making that one. That was such the Like,
It's okay, don't tell on him, mate. It'll be okay.
I hate working with times. Okay, times and dates are just a nightmare to work with. Me and times and dates just don't get on, and that's why stuff like that now goes into the developers. And look, just make it work like this. I can explain what needs to be done, and it will just come back and it will all work by magic. You know, what feels like magic to me. And yes, unfortunately, the delivery ETA widget will be gone. And I just don't see a way that we can do that effectively without the use of JavaScript, unfortunately. So yeah, brilliant question. Apologies, I didn't include that in my list in there, so my apologies for that. Portside Marine says, can we have an option to either extend or log in the session name to disable logging you out? Yeah, I'll fix that. I will make an absolute, I'll stick that in my working notes here. Time out session. Yes, it's a short answer to your question there. Doron, thank you. I do appreciate that comment. I genuinely do. CM New Tech, thanks, Portside Marine. This is one of my biggest issues as well. If you get distracted doing something else, halfway through the template, yes, we will get that sorted. It's a straightforward session timeout. Apologies if you've been affected by that. Richard says, I was concerned I would have to change each listing separately. Thanks for the explanation. Yes, remember, you fall into one of two camps. You've already got software which will do it all for you. And please, if you don't have software which won't do it all for you, just go to, the second you finished on this live event, go to Google and type in eBay listing software. Okay, there's many tools out there which can help you. Dave, my business partner from understandinge.com, I won't bore you with the history of it, but the short version is that it's inexpensive multi-channel software. Okay, you should definitely look into multi-channel software. We're also working on a project for smaller based businesses, but like I said, I wanted to keep that as short as I could. Do go and have a look on Google. There's fantastic tools out there for you. Richard says, that was what we just mentioned. Gaming parts for you. Just a quick thank you for explaining things in layman terms, being totally upfront and not filling us with bullshit that you cannot deliver in time for June. I feel more confident now. Gaming parts for you. Thank you for joining in this live session. Like I said, the last 6 months for me has been a personal ride where you have to be extremely honest in what you do. And again, I would have sat here and told you exactly the same thing when I'd been on that journey. I'm not. I'm just perhaps maybe a little bit of a better communicator when these things come around. Unique graving and gifts, quite a lot to understand. I assume the new version will be well documented. Yes, just like every. By the way, let me just make this absolutely clear. I can't guarantee that every. Sorry, Dave, go on.
I was saying it's what you do very well. Document videos.
Yeah, like we've had before in version 2 with the help videos per widget, we will have that in version 3. Like I said, version 3, there's a lot of things to be joined together. One of those is that when you want to know what a setting does, there will be a help tutorial which goes with that. I will be brutally honest, that was not a major priority for version 3. We need to make version 3 work, then we can add in the completeness pieces, which will be video tutorials for each and every single widget, and of course overview videos to certain things as well. Let's have a quick look. Will we get an email when version 3 is ready? Absolutely. I will also do a nice live event like this as well. Let's have a quick look. Will action buttons still work like buy now? Now, there is a massive question mark around this because of the question mark symbol. Possibly. That's all I'm going to commit to, is because we don't know yet. There are things which I can do. Maybe if I went off, let's say that's in WidgetChimp. If WidgetChimp went off and revised the listing, we could make a link which we know which works, and then the customers could buy from the listing. There are some heavy restrictions with JavaScript going. Stuff which would be extremely simple has now been made. In some instances, the only way which could ever be possible is that we actually go and revise your listing, which is something which I have done my absolute best for WidgetChimp to keep away from. As you many of you know, WidgetChimp is known for like the feedback widget and the responsive listing templates. The feedback widget needs to get shelved, as in like shelved to be stuck on the shelf and just sit there for a short period of time while we work out version 3. We focus upon the core, which is the responsive template pieces. We will bring that back in version 4. In there, the action buttons are part of that, but like I said, there are some, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible. Without having JavaScript, it's like it's been chopped off not only my right arm, but also your right arm on what you can do. But I'm not going to disagree with behind the motivations, and I will actually just scroll back and read those motivations out at the top. And again, this is eBay's motivations. I'm not just going to disagree with them, which is inhibiting mobile purchasing. That is a big point. Increasing page load times. Faster listings are better. They convert more. They convert better. It's proven fact. Okay, and of course, WidgetChimp will go on to use one of those content delivery network thingies, which I mentioned earlier, to make it as fast as possible for all of your customers wherever they are in the world, and increasing security vulnerabilities. Again, yes, JavaScript, Flash, there are naughty things which can be done. That can attract, or would attract, very negative PR for eBay as a whole, and for all of us as a community. So I'm never going to go back and argue with those 3 points. They are all sound points. We must remember that. Okay. Autotronics, thank you for turning up for the. So Defense Sword says for the delivery ETA countdown. I understand that they said widget will be ended. Is there no way that the time can be hard-coded in the listing without using JavaScript? Technically, the answer is yes, it can be done, and it can also be done intelligently with, I'm not going to cover the details on how it can be done. It could still be done. Excuse me. It wouldn't be as pretty, and it would be a forced set time as well, without having to do some crazy stuff with CSS. Technically, it is possible. Okay, there's some things which are just going to be completely impossible without using JavaScript. That one is, you could do it. Okay. It could be done. It wouldn't be particularly graceful. It would probably be quite server intensive. I'm just thinking, just because of the sheer amount of volume which WidgetChimp does today, and like I said, we do terabytes of data every single month on very, very small files. So technically, it could be done. I just need. I have reservations about it. It will go into version 5. Okay, if it's deemed as possible on the overheads which are involved in it and not huge, it will go into version 5, and I will make a point in here of adding that in there as well, so you know that I'm not fluffing you in there as well. Delivery, I need to add a couple of my notes in there as well. That's in the list. Okay. Let's have a quick look. Last question, and I'll tell you what, we've gone 18 minutes over, so I am going to wrap up now. So Dorian says, when Crazy Lister and Fruition will vanish off the map of the e-commerce world. I think it's great. That competition is what it is. I just feel that WidgetChimp, I know what is possible. Things which have been labeled as unique won't be unique for very much longer, put it that way. And that's not me just being arrogant, that's just the truth. Things which have been currently labeled as unique are not very unique at all, and relatively straightforward to do for us and for you. So it's time for us to go. I would personally like to say a massive thank you to Dave for helping me out today. So Dave, thank you very much for that. I really have appreciated it.
You absolutely smashed the questions there. There's nothing that you haven't covered.
Brilliant. Okay, I will not apologize for this webinar going over like 18, 19 minutes because I wanted to focus upon your questions. If you have a question which has not been covered here, okay, support tickets or live chat is not the best place for you to ask them, okay? If you have a specific question about version 3 or version 4, okay, please use the support email address, okay, support@widgetchimp.com. The reason why I'm suggesting that is because that comes into a separate queue and we can filter those out separately, okay? If it does turn out it's into a general support question, you'll be politely asked to make a ticket for it, okay? But if your question is specifically about version 3 or version 4, do send it to the support email address, okay? And that's it. The other thing which I've forgotten to say is thank you. Thank you for joining myself. Thank you for joining Dave here this afternoon in the United Kingdom. I really, really do appreciate that. If it's the evening with you, have a great evening. If it's the morning, good morning. And if it's the afternoon, good afternoon. From myself, Matt, thank you ever so much for joining us today. Cheerios. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, guys.